I've had a couple friends recently that are interested in kayak fishing ask me about my boat and the gear that I carry with me when I'm inshore fishing. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to go over the kayak that I've got, the reason I use this kayak, and the gear that I carry with me when I go. Let's start off with the boat. This is a Wilderness Systems Ride 135. It's 13.5 feet long and 30 inches at the beam. The reason I use this kayak is because A, it's fast, and B, it's got enough stability that I can stand and sight fish, which is one of my favorite ways to fish. When you're purchasing a kayak, the thing you have to remember is the shorter and wider the kayak, the slower it's going to be, but the more stability it's going to have. The longer the kayak and the narrower it is, the faster the kayak is going to be. So A, you need to figure out what type of fishing you're going to be doing, if it's inshore, freshwater fishing, if you're fishing rivers, or if you're fishing offshore. And that's going to determine the type of kayak that you have and the type of gear that you're going to use. For me, I'm inshore fishing, snook, redfish, and trout. 90% of the time I'm in 3 feet or less of water. And the thing that I like about this is I can stand up in it, has a lot of stability. I can sight fish, I can see the fish. Another thing is polarized glasses. These are Costas here. These are not the 580 lens, these are the 400 lens, but they serve me well. I can see the fish on the flats, I can cast to them, and that's just the kind of fishing that I like to do. So with that, I'm going to go over the gear that I carry in this kayak. I'll start at the front and work my way back. I'll show you what I carry and why I carry it, and hopefully that'll give some of you guys that are new to kayak fishing kind of ideas that you need to rig your boat. Okay, starting at the front of the boat here, you got to grab handle. That's pretty self-explanatory. It's used to transport the kayak to the water or back to your truck, or in some cases in an extreme low tide you'll be using that handle to drag your boat across some dry land. Moving on back, I've got a wade line here. I've got about 15 feet of line and a carabiner so I can clip it to my belt loop. A lot of the tournaments I fish require you to have the kayak tethered to you if you get out and wade fish. So that's what that's for. This is the front hatch, pretty large hatch. This is the new style Wilderness hatches. They have these levers that lock it down in place. The old style was a neoprene. It was a good idea, but a lot of times in transporting them, if it wasn't all the way down, they could fly off, and you could lose it on the road while you're transporting the kayak. Plenty of storage space in there. Myself, I'm a camper, so if I decide I want to do some camping trips with this, there's plenty of room down in the hull of the kayak for storing my gear. Moving on back, in rigging my kayak, I didn't want to drill a lot of holes in this kayak. The only hole that I have drilled in here is for my Scottie mount, which is up here, and on top of that I have a triple Scottie rod holder. Right here I've just got a piece of 1/2 inch PVC with a fitting on it and a 1/4 inch screw, and that holds the camera that I'm filming with right now, so that I can take pictures of my catches, and maybe do some video or something while I'm out. Next to that I've got my marine radio. It's an Icon. I'm forgetting the model right now, but it's waterproof and it floats. I've got it tethered with a swoosh little leash here. The saying in kayak fishing is leash it or lose it. So a lot of things you don't want to lose, you might want to leash them to your kayak in case they fall overboard. Next to that I've got my rod holder with one of my rods in it. Next to that is a cup holder. Obviously that's self-explanatory. Gotta have my coffee when I'm out in the morning. Below that I have my GPS here. I rarely have that out when I'm fishing. I don't really need it unless I'm somewhere where I'm unfamiliar with the area. I may mark the launch so that, you know, I know my way back to the launch. I have a shimmy towel here hanging from my rod holder. It's pretty absorbent. It's good for cleaning up the kayak if you get it muddy or whatever while you're out there, or just wiping your slimy hands from handling fish. Moving on back, this is my anchor bag. I like to use an anchor. I have stakeout poles, but you know, it's just it's too much to handle for me. I mean, it gets in the way most of the time, and you know, some people like them and they are nice to have and they do work, but I just prefer an anchor. I have the seat. This seat came with the kayak, but I've added a crack of dawn air cushion. This is self-inflating. Just adds a lot of padding, makes it more comfortable while I'm out there, you know, for 6-7 hours on the water. In front of that, there's a little hatch with a little neoprene cover here. I don't usually keep anything in there other than my snacks for the day or whatever. In a tournament, a lot of times I'll keep my camera in there so that I have it readily available when I catch a fish. I do a lot of CPR tournaments, and what that is catch, photo, and release, which means you're taking a picture of your fish on a measuring board, and that's how they score your catch. Over here I have my paddle. That is a carbon fiber aquabound paddle. Love that paddle. It's nice and light. To that I have it leashed to the kayak. Again, leash it or lose it. That's your mode of transportation. That gets away from you, you're at the mercy of the wind. Moving on back, we have another hatch here. Again, the new Wilderness System hatches with the lever. Locks down pretty nice. In here, I keep a Walmart dry box. I love these dry boxes. I keep my wallet, my phone, my keys. I keep an extra buff in there. I have a headlamp. If I'm launching, you know, pre-dawn, or if I'm night fishing, you know, you need a headlamp. Moving on back, this is my crate. This is the best part of my system. All my rods, my fly rod, all my gear can be stored in this crate. Makes loading the kayak so much simpler. There's not a crap I've got to bring from the truck to the kayak. Most of it is in this crate right here. This box here, I have all my soft baits and hooks. I have all my hard baits in there. Underneath that, I have a kind of a dry box I got from Walmart that just it has some real lube and my sunscreen and bug repellent, pair of scissors, you know, whatever I might need while I'm out there. I have this bag here which has my rain gear. It has a rain jacket, rain pants in there. In the back there, this is all my fly gear in a couple boxes, all my flies. And with that, this is my fly rod. I have a Scottie fly rod holder mounted to the side of the crate. I like to fly fish. I don't bring it out a lot, but if I'm out there and I find fish and I'm on them, you know, that's when I bring the fly rod out. Back here in a triple rod holder, I have 3 more rods. I had a friend ask me why I carry so many rods. The reason is because if I'm out there, any situation I run across, I have a rod already rigged up for that purpose, and it covers the water level from top to bottom. Four lures you will always see me carry: Mirrodine. I have a spoon, whether it be a Johnson spoon or some other type of spoon. a soft plastic on this rod, and on the front rod up there I have a Heddon Zero Spook Junior. Probably the best, in my opinion, lure for inshore fishing. All species of fish just love that thing. That's not my favorite color, but this one works. I have a bone, and I think they call it a bone spook. That one is the one to get, in my opinion. And with that, moving on back, I carry this light. These lights are pretty cheap. You can get them for about $3 or $4 at Walmart. It's mounted on a piece of 1/2-inch PVC here. And if I'm launching, pre-dawn and it's still dark, for safety's sake, obviously, I want some kind of light on my kayak. That has 3 or 4 modes. It has a blinking mode, a constant on. There's a flashlight on the end of it, and I'll just mount that right in here. I'll take the fly rod off and stow it, and then I'll mount it in the Scottie mount right there until it gets daylight, and then I'll change it out. And finally, at the end of the boat, we have a rudder. I will always have a rudder on my kayaks, and it's not for navigating purposes. To me, the best part about a rudder is if you're working a mangrove shoreline or any shoreline, you can maneuver that shoreline hands-free, just using the pedals for your rudder. Very valuable tool. So that's the contents of my kayak. This is not the only way to go. This is just my way. Just a few ideas for you guys. I hope some of this helps some of you and get you out there in the water. So to wrap it all up, a couple things I neglected to mention. One is I do have an anchor trolley rigged to this kayak. There's plenty of YouTube videos that you can find to how to rig those. You don't need me to go over that, but I did have one that ran the entire length of the kayak. I didn't like it for the fact that there was just too much line to get in the way and snag my lures and all that, so now I run it half trolley, which runs from the handle to the back of the kayak, which is about all I need. I have about 30 feet of rope. About 8 feet from the anchor I tied a loop, which clips to a carabiner that's on my anchor trolley. For most situations, that's all I need is that 8 feet. The other thing is a PFD. Coast Guard requires that you have a PFD on your vessel along with a whistle. I have both. I have the whistle tethered to the PFD. Most of the time it's just strapped to my kayak somewhere. I don't wear it while I'm out there. It's just too bulky while I'm trying to fish. And I'm not recommending that you do that. That's just what I do. But it is easily accessible when I need it. So make sure you have a PFD on board. And with that, that'll wrap it up. And I hope to see you guys out on the water.